Since the dawn of time, currency has run the world. If something had value, people wanted it. From grains to spices and gold and cash, it's in our DNA to chase things that we deem as valuable. And when we finally do manage to get what we see as valuable, we want to make sure that we got a good price on it. Well, the world of gaming PCs is no different. They tend to be pretty expensive, especially for the nice ones. And, well, you want to make sure you're getting the best deal. So that begs the question, how much should you really be spending on a gaming PC? Well, before we figure that out, we need to dig just a little bit deeper and ask ourselves a few questions. 1, what do we plan on doing with it? 2, are we buying it or are we building it? And 3, are we okay using used parts? Well, these are the first things you need to know before you figure out how much you're actually going to spend on a PC. And as I mentioned a second ago, the first thing that you need to figure out is your planned use case for the PC. If you're trying to play AAA games like Cyberpunk 2077 or Alan Wake 2 at these high resolutions, then you're going to want a PC that is higher spec so that it can handle those higher resolutions. And sure, you could probably scrape by on an older PC with outdated specs, even if it was higher end 5 or 10 years ago, but that wouldn't give you the experience that you're chasing if you're trying to build a PC that is going to play these games at higher resolutions. No, you're going to want something higher end so that you can play these games at these higher resolutions and keep the game looking sharp and crisp just the way you want it to. On the other hand, if you're playing games like Fortnite, CSGO, Rocket League, these esports titles, well then you're not going to need such a high-end PC because those esports games tend to be optimized for the lower end hardware so that everybody can play them. In that case, you don't need to spend nearly as much on your hardware to get a good higher refresh rates gaming experience. Or as a third potential use case, if you're creating content such as editing videos or streaming or doing stuff with large language models or 3D modeling, then you're going to want something that's way higher end because those types of things are super resource intensive. They are not easy to run and your PC is going to need some help. So you're going to want something higher end because let's be honest, you don't want your hardware limiting how productive you can be. Well, when deciding between if you're going to build a system yourself or if you're going to buy one, there's a few things that you need to know. First off, you are almost always going to get a better deal on the PC if you build it yourself. Parts tend to be cheaper because you cut out the middleman, the retailers, and overall you can save more money. Second, there is a little bit of a risk when building the PC yourself. If you are an experienced PC builder, well then this one might not really apply to you, but just know that there will always be a little bit of a risk that you're going to break something or that something is going to arrive damaged, which could be a problem for you. And third, if you're going with a pre-built system, there is usually going to be a warranty type system, so long as you're buying them new. So that higher price that you're going to get is going to come with some added benefits. So if something does go wrong, you will be protected, which is a good thing, especially if you need this PC for your profession. Do you build the PC yourself and waive the extra cost while taking on just a little bit of that risk? Do you need that warranty? Are you willing to put the PC together yourself and risk some time, energy, and money? Well, these are all things that I need you to figure out before you decide how much you're actually going to spend on a PC. Now, even though there are definitely benefits to getting that pre-built, here's a couple downsides that you should probably think about. First off, there is a big lack of customizability. As somebody who makes a lot of content, I usually need a lot of storage and a lot of RAM. I can live with some of that lower processing power, but if I don't have enough RAM and I don't have enough storage, then I can't create content as effectively as I need to. And most pre-builds don't actually give you the option to figure out if you want that extra RAM or that storage, or if they do, they're going to charge you through the roof for it, and it's stupid. Now, alongside your use case and figuring out if you're building it or buying it, there is a third thing I need you to consider before you actually figure out how much you're going to spend on your PC. And that would be if you are going to buy used or new, or a combination of both. Now, if you decide to buy used parts, there is a extra added risk to that. Parts could be defunct and you're not going to get a warranty in any way, shape, or form. That being said, even though there is a risk, there is a huge benefit to the cost. You're going to be able to spend literally half as much money and make a system that is just as good, if not better. So yeah, everything is cheaper, but you do assume that bigger risk. Personally, I build and sell computers out of used parts for a living, and I've had very few fail on me, so I would go that route, but that's something that you need to figure out if you are going to be comfortable with. So after figuring out those 3 major factors, it's time to price out your PC. But before we do that, I am going to pause this video and do the typical YouTuber thing and ask you to like if you are enjoying this video. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers before the end of the summer, and it would be a huge help if you would be willing to click that subscribe button. If you're really enjoying the content, or you want to come hang out with me or some of my other tech enthusiast friends, then you should consider joining my Discord because it's free and I think you would love it. Anyways, back to pricing. So as you can see with this lovely chart here on screen, I'm going to split this up into 12 different categories. So let's get started with the Esports PC. If you're planning on playing just some basic esports games and surfing the web, then this is the PC for you. You could pretty easily scrape together a super competent system for about $300. You could grab an 8th or 9th gen i5 or a 3rd gen Ryzen 5 with a motherboard, along with something like a GTX 1660, 1660 Super, and put together a solid system for for just about 300 bucks. This type of PC will definitely get you playing some esports titles at higher FPS and pretty effectively, if I do say so myself. Now, if you don't want to build it yourself but are still okay going with a used PC, then on the used market you could get something pretty solid for about 500 bucks. That price can be even lower if you're actually looking around for good deals. On my local Facebook marketplace at the time of recording this, there's a PC with an i5 9600 and a GTX 1070 that is a full setup, comes with everything except for a mouse, for $400. What a freaking steal. That is exactly the type of PC that you would be able to play pretty much any esports game on and get high FPS at 1080p medium to low settings. Now, on the opposite side of that, if you want to build the PC yourself but do it with brand new parts so that you have warranties in case anything is broken, then you could probably put together a pretty competent system for, again, about 500 bucks. You could probably trim that down a little bit if you wanted to sacrifice on aesthetics or storage, but personally, I like my aesthetics and my storage. So I'm gonna say about 500 bucks. For that 500 bucks, you could put together a system with a Ryzen 5 5500, 16 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte of storage, and a Radeon RX 6600, which will be able to play every game under the sun, 1080p, medium to high, and get super competitive FPS. Now, if you demand your PC to be pre-built and brand new, then you should expect to spend around $750 on this. Now, it's gonna be pretty hard to find some brand new lower end pre-builts for a good price because the internet is dumb and they inflate everything. That being said, with a little bit of digging, I found this PC here on Newegg for about 750 bucks. It's got an i5 13400F, DDR5 memory, and an RTX 3050. Now, I know everybody hates the 3050, but it's still a great esports card and it will play pretty much every game under the sun. On top of that, you get the RTX badge, which means you can trace rates. Not particularly well, but you can still do it. Again, this PC will chew through any and every esports game that you could imagine. Anyways, on to the next. If you're planning on playing AAA games and you want a PC that is a bit higher end than those lower end pre-built that I was talking about, then this is the part of the video for you. If you intend to build the rig yourself with new parts, you should expect to be spending around $500 to $750. Throwing in a 5th gen Ryzen 7, maybe even an X3D chip if you can find one for cheap, or an older i7 or i9, along with something like a Radeon RX 6950 XT could get you easily into the 1440p range and playing games at high settings. You could also probably find something like a 3070 Ti or a 3080 for about 300 bucks instead of that 6950, and you'd be tracing rays all day. Now, if you still want to build your system, but you only want to use new parts, then I would expect to spend around $1,000. You could probably trim that down, but that depends on how much you value your storage, RAM, and aesthetics. With something like an i7 12700KF and a RX 7800, you could pretty easily be playing games at high settings. Here's this PC part picker list that I threw together that comes in just at $1,020, and this will do everything you need it to and more. Now, in this price range, if you're trying to find the best possible deal, I would actually go onto Facebook Marketplace and start looking for these systems used, because right now these are in the sweet spot where they're cheaper than they should be. At the time of recording, there was this Dell XPS system on Facebook Marketplace near me with an i7 12700 and a 3080 for $1,000. Now, I assume that you could talk the price down, especially if you're using the tactics that I showed you in this video here, which you should check out once we're done watching. I'll link it in the description and at the end card. Now, granted, you may not want a pre-built system from an OEM such as this Dell XPS, but if you're okay living with that, then you can get some really good deals on hardware. Now, if you're absolutely not okay with shopping used, then you should be expecting to pay about $1,300 to $1,400 for a pre-built system on something like Newegg or Amazon. There's this one that I found on Newegg with a Ryzen 7 7700 and a 7800 XT that comes in at $1,399 and change. Now, these deals aren't super uncommon to find, so I'm sure with a little bit of scouring, you could find this exact deal or something maybe even a little bit better at this price. Now, for the stupid high-end PCs, this category being last is going to be the most expensive, just as you might expect. If you're fine using used parts, you could put together a high-end system for this type of work for about $1,000. With a 3090 for $400 to $500, yes, those deals exist. Yes, you can find them. And a 12th gen i9 or a 5800 X3D, you could pretty easily be doing all the productivity work that you could need. But what about a system with new parts? Well, if you're looking to build a system with all new parts, I would expect to spend around $1,500. I put together this PC part picker list with this Radeon RX 7900 GRE and a Ryzen 7 7800 X3D for about $1,650. Now, you could trim this price down if you were to bump the RAM down or bump the storage down, but me personally, I like having a lot of RAM and a lot of storage, so I'm not going to do that. Now, it is really easy to outspend that. Some graphics cards alone, like the RTX 4090, will go for $1,500 all day. So really, sky's the limit, but expect your entry-level price to be about $1,500. Now, if you're trying to find a similar system on the used marketplace, I would expect to pay about that same $1,500. I found this PC with a Ryzen 9 5900 and a RX 7900 XTX for about $1,500. Now, again, with some negotiating, you could probably talk this price down and at the end of the day, walk home with a good deal. That being said, if you plan on going new, expect to spend a lot more. Your entry price should be about $2,200 to $2,300. Now, yeah, this is expensive, but it's going to allow allow you to do all the work that you could ever imagine doing. Your hardware will no longer be the thing limiting you. So all that to say, your budget is really, really subjective. You can spend as much or as little as you want on a PC. At the end of the day, just make sure that you are happy with it and make sure that you have the value that you wanted to get. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Ryan. Feel free to join my Discord down below. It's free, and I will catch you guys next time. Ryan out.